Hi, thank you. Mike Waitala from Soccer America. Michele, can you share with us your earliest experiences with soccer and what it was about the sport that motivated you to become so involved in it?
So actually my earliest, does this work? So when I first took over the Washington Spirit, I was interviewed by a local TV station. So after all these questions, the reporter asked me, like, did you ever play soccer? And I said, well, yeah, of course I played in elementary school. And she goes, what position did you play? And I said, did you hear what I said? I played at elementary school. You just follow the ball. There's no position. Yeah, this was actually, I have to tell you that it was not some grand plan. And I was not, I mean, other than the brief stint in the elementary school days, I was not really aware. I was not really a fan. But once I got exposed to the women's soccer right after 2019 World Cup, when the players came back and there was a celebration, I learned about the presence of the professional league and actually the team in the DC area, and I was blown away. And as I started getting involved, I just saw an incredible potential and where it was versus where it could be. And I was really very surprised that there was just so little investment, appreciating the potential. So just like what I did in my other professional career, when I believe in something, I just jump in. So I did with my head first, so yeah.
Did you want to ask a question over here?
Thanks for doing this, guys. Tom Hindle from Goal USA. Actually, a question for Cindy. I wanted to ask, how big of a focus is coaching when it comes to this whole thing? I mean, obviously, outside of player development.
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, to develop the best players in the world, you have to have the best staff around them. And that's on the field and in the executive suites as well. So what's so special about this gift is Michele is not only giving to player development, she's giving money to, as she said, double the number of female coaches, double the number of female referees, but also investing in executives so that we can really take the game to the next level and professionalize the environments that these players are in so that we have the best chance to develop them for the pro leagues and for the national teams.
Alex, right here in the front. Yep.
Hi, question for JT. You alluded to Arthur Blank's donation resulting in 9 figures worth of investment in U.S. soccer and the expectation that Michele's investment might do the same. Is that in reference to inspiring other donations, sponsorships, or what is that? Where does that come from?
Good question. All of the above. So, Arthur's generosity led to a whole host of sponsors and a whole host of other people stepping up to support the National Training Center Initiative and other related projects. And when we first met in Paris, and what was supposed to be a short breakfast, which had turned into a very long breakfast, what Michele articulated in her remarks earlier was the core of our conversation, and the belief that we really need to invest in the entire ecosystem and to professionalize and to build systems and processes and be very intentional around that. And obviously the money is very important, but most importantly, we wanted Michele's support and sort of public commitment to drive awareness to how important this is for the long-term success of our sport. And so I have no doubt that by virtue of the actions today, as well as what we'll be doing going forward around shining a light on how important this is going to transform what soccer looks like in this country in a way that will be felt for generations and generations to come.
Ella over here in the, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Pardeep.
Pardeep Khatri, CBS Sports. Michele, how did you come to the decision to make this particular investment and focus on these particular things, especially as you've been expanding your women's soccer portfolio? And for Cindy or JT, either one of you could answer this. How does an investment like this help the U.S. women's team stay competitive amidst lots of investment around the world in women's soccer?
Yeah, if you look at, I mean, as an owner, I mean, on a day-to-day basis, I experience what's needed for the team and the league and so forth. So rightly so, all of us, especially in the NWSL owners, like 2/3 of actually the owners are new in the last two and a half years, and we all came in specifically to invest and grow this in the sport, and we have been doing that. So the results are, I have to say, pretty spectacular in terms of just viewership growing, the attendance growing, sponsorship, and all of the above. So this is all great, but this is not going to be permanent unless the entire sort of the pyramid structure and the ecosystem is there. Because I get the question of you're in England, you're in France, how do you compare those countries' soccer system versus US? And I have to say one of the major differences is actually the youth system, youth academy, youth development. They're a lot more structured and well thought out programs, everything relative, in Europe relative to the US. So I felt that there was some need there. Also, even NWSL, we're talking a lot about expansion and we want to give more opportunities, but we don't want to lower the quality by just expanding. And right now, one of the limiting factors is not even the players, it's really the number of coaches, number of referees, preferably also, not exclusively, but a lot of female coaches and referees. And I felt that it's about time that we pay attention to it. Otherwise, collectively, we're not going to be able to maintain this momentum, let alone improving and creating even bigger momentum for all of us.
And to answer the second part of your question, the people that are the limiting factors that Michele is mentioning, the players, the coaches, the referees, all of them start somewhere, right? They don't start at the professional level and international level. They come up through the youth ranks, maybe into the adult game, and then to the college game perhaps, and on to the professional and international game. So if we want to improve our entire ecosystem, improve those numbers, we have to invest in the grassroots. For all of those segments, and because all of those people are very important and very impactful in the trajectory of our game. And we need to do away with your ability to make a pro team or the national team is dependent on you getting lucky, you having that good coach, right, that others don't have. So we need to improve the entire ecosystem if we're going to raise the game.
Hi, question for Cindy. I'm Ella Brockway from the Washington Post. In the past few years, certainly since the last World Cup, how has the Federation looked at that youth development pipeline and system on the women's side, and what are the specific areas of focus or target areas that you hope this gift will address?
Well, I talked about them a lot. I think all three of us have talked about the areas that we're really focused on. Obviously, player development and touch points within the national team as well. So increasing the number of national team camps. I talked on CBS this morning about my experience on the U16 national team. I was so excited to be named to the U16 national team and represent my country. And it turned out it was just a team on paper. We never actually played a competition. We did have a training camp though, so that was good. But it's so cool to see how it's transforming. And now U14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 23s on the women's and girls side will all have, I think, 6 camps a year now.
6 camps.
So with competitions and games. So think about that player going into the national team. They've already been to these international competitions. With a lot of them, it was if you didn't make the U17 or U20 team, the likelihood of you playing in the actual international competition was very low. And so now we're going to capture more players. So I think that's one thing, increasing the number of opportunities to bring players into the national team camps. The second is expanding and improving our scouting network. So no matter where you play, no matter where you live, we will be able to scout you and see you for the national teams. And then I think the third one is the professional development, which I think we have hammered home a number of times.
Right here in front.
Melanie Ancide with The Athletic. Cindy, you just talked about how it's important to get your start, at the bottom, doesn't matter. I mean,
I can't hear you very well.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. You spoke about just now how you kind of can get your start anywhere. It doesn't have to be at the top. And Emma Hayes famously kind of started at the bottom here in the US before coming back. So I'm curious if in these conversations with kind of forming these plans that there were conversations with Emma and kind of what those were.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the major reasons we wanted to hire Emma. I mean, she's the best coach in the world. That was one major reason. But the other reasons were that she was truly invested in wanting to make the entire ecosystem in the U.S. and at U.S. soccer better. So she's very engaged with all of our sporting staff on the men's side and the women's side. I mean, just case in point, Pochettino is coming to our game at Wembley later this month. So there's a great connection there between the two of them and sharing information. But she is very invested in the youth national teams as well, and in the scouting. And then you see her at the NWSL games. So Emma is changing the game for us. I don't know of another coach that could have 8 training sessions with a team and then go off to win the Olympics, which is pretty impressive.
Maybe one more. Yep, in the very back.
Hello, Jason Klingscales from Sportico. It's a question for Michele, but JT and Cindy, you can answer as well. Michele, you're recently invested in IDA Sports. You've made a lot of discussion. You've had a lot of discussions about investing in the science of women's sports and trying to and separating that from what we always known about the science of men's sports and such. How does this investment, or this gift rather, sort of enhance that goal? And again, JT or Cindy, if you want to speak to that as well, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, so I think that at the end of the day, it's not any different than any other businesses, right? So any particular business or industry can't be successful just focusing only one part of the value chain. There need to be all the elements present. Even though you may take up only one part of the entire value chain, other value chain components, the other components of the ecosystem need to be there. So in my healthcare IT business days, I focus on certain area, but I invested in other areas so that we're all coming along because it needs critical mass and different components. It's really not any different. So one of the very first things that I learned was that we're training women as if they are small men. And we have very different biology, the hormones, the menstruations, all those things. And we have to fix that because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that our players are at their best condition so that they can give 110%, which means that in turn that we're going to be able to produce the best and most competitive product. Along that line, actually the cleats are, again, the same issue, right? You don't shrink and pink it and thinking that that's going to work. You have to use female, the feed and mold and all that. Apparently the weight distribution when women run is very different than men. So those are all the key elements so that we keep our players at their best condition and so that they can work hard. And so all these elements need to come along. Just one part of that whole ecosystem be ahead of everyone else. You're not going to get there. We need to bring everything else along all of us. And that was really what was driving the investment, not only in the clubs, but the cleats, the health research and training methodology, and also the youth clubs and the coaches and referees and all that.
I don't think I could say it any better, so I'm going to leave it.
All right, we're going to wrap up. We're going to move the stage one more time. So again, bear with us. We're going to do some photo ops if anyone wants to stay for photos. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate you being here today. And thank you again, Michele.
Thank you.